Good morning, everyone. Karibuni sana to our viewers and listeners to our podcast today on the 3rd of October. Today, we are glad to invite to have a new guest in our session today, Mr. Douglas Nyamori. Yagi karibu sana.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you,
Yes.
Zipporah.
And here we also have Zipporah, the HR consultant here at Aurum Consultants. We are a HR and risk advisory firm. And today we want to discuss more about building winning teams. As you all know, there is no workplace where an individual can be able to succeed. Everything is done cooperatively and collectively within teams. And I believe you will have a wonderful time. Now, the first item that I want to discuss today, and I would like to throw to Dagi and I think I'll start with Dagi. What are some of the quality or characteristics that you would say is that of a leader? Or let me put it this way. What are some of the qualities or characteristics that you need to have to be a good leader?
All right. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for having me participate in Aurum Consultants webinar today.
Yes.
A good leader. I think the whole world is looking for good leaders.
Yes.
And I don't want to say they're few and far between. I think there are many out there that have developed and many that need to be developed. The first thing that comes to mind with regards to a good leader is a good value system. Somebody who's good.
Yes.
If you've got good values, I think you are halfway there.
Yes, that's true.
And so if you're a person of honesty and integrity, a person that can be trusted, relied upon, these are soft skills, things that you decide to have.
Yes.
Someone who decides that they can be diligent and they can work hard, and that they can express care and kindness for people.
Yes.
So those are just values I think that a good leader should have. And then, soft skills. I think we're beginning from things that everyone can relate with.
Yes, that's true.
A level playing field, and just having good soft skills, an ability to communicate with people and relate with people of all standing, of all races.
Sure.
Having a good etiquette.
Yeah, that's true.
All these things are needed,
Yes.
And just some confidence as well. Somebody who's secure in themselves and are confident. But beyond that, then we start looking at a bit more of skills that may be needed in the marketplace and in the corporate world. Actual skills, depending on the industry that you're in.
Yes.
So if you're in the financial industry and you're giving financial advisory as a leader, then you need to have some skills that you can acquire.
Yes.
But I think also beyond that, then you also, to be a good leader, you have to be able to lead yourself first. Before you decide you're going to lead people.
Yes.
So you're self-disciplined, you're able to lead yourself.
Yes.
But a good leader is also a good follower.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right. So I think in the corporate world, that would be defined as being accountable. So you have someone that you're accountable to, as much as you're leading people, that you're also being led. And therefore, that helps you have some humility and some grounding, which is good for all of us.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you need some emotional intelligence. I don't know whether you're like me and you have found very good leaders out there who are driven, who are very skillful, but they don't know how to validate the emotions of other people.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to handle someone, a lady who might be melancholic and sensitive, or a gentleman who may be, tend to being quick to anger.
Yeah, yeah.
I will not mention where I come from, so some of us are not to be quick to anger.
Yeah.
Just having some good emotional intelligence. I think
Yeah.
and that's something you can acquire,
Mm,
despite our different personality types.
mm,
Being creative and innovative, I think that's maybe it's different from person to person. There are some people who are more creative and more innovative than others.
sure.
Uh, but I think it's also something that you can develop if you want to solve problems. I think one of the key responsibilities of a good leader is to solve problems.
Problem solving, that's true.
Yes. But also to have a vision. You
Uh-huh.
know where you're going, and you want
Yes.
to, if you're a leader and you don't have people following you, you're not a leader.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And if you have people following you, you better be going somewhere,
Yes.
and you better be going to a good place, and you better be able to articulate that to the people
Yes.
that are following you, and they better have a buy-in
Mm,
to what you're doing. So
mm.
that is critical as well. I think the other aspect would be that you're ready to have fun.
Aha.
You,
That's a good one.
you are you're relatable. Where I work, one of the things that we say is that we have to have fun working together.
Mm,
Um, so as a leader, you must be, you want to be approachable, and you want to be able to create an environment that people want to come to.
mm, mm, mm.
Most people work in organizations the better productive part of their day.
Yes. That is true.
So they don't want to go somewhere where they'll be stressed out the whole day,
Mm-hmm.
doing something they don't want to do for someone they don't like.
Yeah. That's a terrible combination.
So you have to find ways of creating spaces of fun and
Mm,
being a fun-loving person. Don't be too stiff. So I think that's a value that probably people will not talk about as much
aha.
as a leader. But as a leader as well, you've got to keep improving.
Mhm.
You have to be a person that's progressive.
Mhm.
We say life is dynamic and progressive.
Yes.
So you've got to be one of those people that is keen on self-improvement. I know all of us in our leadership spheres want to see the people that we are helping also improving.
Yes.
But there's the law of the lead,
Yes.
where they cannot get past somewhere if you're not getting to create that vacuum for them to grow into.
Mm, mhm,
So you want to be able to embrace leadership.
mhm.
A good leader as well, I would say, is able to get feedback and to give feedback. So
Yes.
your communication is so open. You're able to give the people that you lead feedback, honest
Mm,
feedback, timely
yes.
feedback.
Yes.
Not when things have gone, as awry and things are falling apart. Is when
Yes.
now you're deciding to give feedback. I think just progressive and continuous feedback to your people, but receiving feedback
Mm,
as well. I think this is where most of us can have a bit of a problem
mm.
receiving feedback as leaders. And why it is important as a leader to be a good leader is in receiving feedback is that it helps you deal with your blind spots.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
Leaders have blind spots,
Mhm.
and things that we don't see, not because we don't want to see them, but because we need someone else to see them for us
Yes. Yes. That's
and to
true.
be able to give us that feedback. So a good leader is able to deal with their blind spots and allow
Uh-huh.
for other people
Mhm.
to have input into their life so that they can deal with their blind spots and
Yes.
be able to move forward.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I've talked quite a bit about good leaders. Maybe,
Wow.
maybe, maybe Tony or Zippy, you could add on to that.
Wow, you have really given us. If somebody was doing an MBA, he would need to listen to this podcast and be jotting notes because, as you said, there are issues to do with soft skills, uh, just emotional intelligence, having good values, being reliable, hardworking, being empathetic, a good communicator. Obviously, if you're a leader in whatever field, then You've got to have the necessary academic skills in the field that you are in. And even if you do not have to be a specialist, but at least have an idea what you are doing. Then now it should do with character, problem solving, being visionary, being able to lead yourself as you lead others, as you've said, someone who is fun to be with. That one of fun to be with is something that is probably traditionally leaders were not interested in how you think of them, as long as you deliver. So yeah, those are very good qualities of being a leader. And the idea that everyone is a leader, in a sense. So the question is, are you leading yourself before you start, leading others? And I don't know what Zippy, what would you add on to what Douglas has put on?
Well, it's so difficult to talk after Douglas because he's really captured it very well. And I like what he started by saying, the value system. What kind of value system do you have as a leader? And the other thing is soft skills. I think this is an area that most of us leaders actually struggle with, the soft skills. We want to sometimes engage ourselves in other relevant skills in the job, but we forget about the soft skills that actually make the work more easier and for your team more easier. And one of the other things that Dagi has mentioned is feedback. Most of us leaders, we have a lot of blind spots, but we don't take feedback very well, and especially when it's negative feedback. When we get negative feedback from our team members, we actually, feel like we are being attacked, and we become very defensive about the same. While actually that feedback is supposed to help us grow as leaders and lead our teams in the right way. One of the things that I think we also need to develop as leaders is have a way of listening to understand our team members. Sometimes our team members are giving us feedback, but we don't listen, or we don't listen to understand why our team members are giving this feedback. So it's important for us as leaders to develop skills in listening and listen to understand what it is that they're saying.
Sure.
The other quality I would think of a good leader, and to develop a good team, you need to have patience with your team members.
Yes.
Now, one of the things I keep on saying, if you're a leader, you are not born where you are at. You have grown into that place of being a leader, and you have made mistakes along the way. So if you have team members you expect to lead and to grow and become a great team, then you need to have a lot of patience, because they are going to make a lot of mistakes on the way. And when you make those mistakes, the question is, do you have the grace to extend to them and hold their hands and teach them and tell them, this is how you do this? Or are you going to be the kind of a leader who will be, always on the other side, telling them the wrong things they are doing, and you're not helping them become who that you want them to be? And we always say, you're as good as your team. So as a leader, if your team is failing, actually it's a good reflection on you. You are failing as a leader. So you need to lead your team to be who you are, or even better. And you cannot be there if you don't have the qualities that you would be saying that are good qualities for a leader. The other thing I would think of is, if you're a leader and you're building a team that is a winning team, you need to develop trust with your team members. You need to get to that place of saying, I can allow my team member to do this. I know I'm taking a great risk. I know they might fail and the consequences to the same, but you need to allow yourself to allow other members of your team to take those risks, because that's how they grow.
Sure.
I'm taking an example with even how I work with my team members, and I keep on telling my team members, I throw you into the deep, you have to learn. Because if I don't do that and I don't allow you to take those risks, you will always be looking at someone else to make decisions for you, or someone else to do the job for you. You will always be afraid to take that extra step and do something because you're afraid of making a mistake. But the truth is, even as us as leaders, we will make mistakes, and we learn through those mistakes and become better. So it's important for us to develop that trust for our team members and allow them to take challenges that we know for sure they might make mistakes, but it's a learning curve. But again, even as you choose who you are delegating, it's also important to look at who is it that you are delegating these responsibilities to. Do they have the capability to carry out these responsibilities? So we have to look at it from a very broad perspective and not from a smaller worldview, but from a bigger worldview where we are saying we have to build all these aspects to create this great change you're looking for.
Yes. All right. All right. Thank you for those perspectives. You said, there are issues to do with how you lead yourself as you lead your other teams, and then also having the confidence to be able to delegate. Well, we welcome your comments. I can see.
Actually, something else, Anthony, if you can allow me, I've just remembered. I think the other thing that I think sometimes we struggle with as leaders,
Yes.
we don't make decisions sometimes when we need to make decisions. And especially when we are leading teams. And what I have realized along the way, if you take long to make a decision that needs to be made, it actually frustrates your team members in the process. And your team members actually start developing a worldview about you as a leader, and they start thinking you don't make decisions quickly and it affects their performance. So what happens actually, it demoralizes, it discourages your team. So as a team leader, I think it's also important for you to know it's important to be able to make decisions and make them at the right time, but not just making those decisions, also engaging your team as you make those decisions so that they can feel they're included in the decision-making process.
Thank you for that addition. Issues to do with decision making. So, as we are saying today, we are discussing building a winning team. And from what you've heard from both Douglas and Zipporah, is that a leader is critical. A leader is very critical in leading the team forward. You can't have a winning team with a leader who doesn't know what's going. And I appreciate the comments. Keep them coming. I can see Mr. Augustus Kyoko is saying, wow, to be a leader, you must lead yourself. It's a hard one, but it's very profound. Very true, Mr. Augustus. Leading yourself is not easy, but you've got to do it. You've got to decide you want to lead. I mean, you've got to lead yourself before you ask others to follow you. All right. So the second question, which Dagi, I will bring you in here. Let's talk about delegation. Yeah, tell us more about delegation.
What do you hear about delegation?
Talk about delegation. Give us your view about delegation.
All right.
Yes.
Let's just say delegation is a must.
Yes.
Yeah, some of us have learned it the hard way, and we've been told to delegate. But some of us have had to nearly get run aground before we realize we will die on the job.
Sure.
So delegation is a must. What I tell the people in the office is I am not the only one on the payroll.
That's a good one.
And so we have to shoulder this together. So it's a must. I think maybe we can justify it with a couple of reasons. I think the first one that comes to mind is that you don't have all the gifts. You're not everything.
Yes.
Yeah, there are many people who have lots of skills, but you really can't have all of them. So you cannot be the best at baking, the best at the finance, the best at HR, the best at sales and everything. So you have to recognize that, and that's why you need to delegate, but also to recognize that that you need others to help you.
Yes.
So that you have a balance of life. So yeah, I mean, God has given gifts to everybody as He has distributed, and so you need to be able to delegate. You delegate what you can do and what you can't do.
Sure.
I absolutely have no problem delegating what I can't do. So I do not touch the finance sections of our office and try and submit KRA tax returns. It's not my expertise. So as a leader, you have to be able to have those roles. But also there's some things that I can do, but I can't do alone.
Yes, that's true.
And so you delegate those, but you also delegate because you want to build others. Right? Because if you want them to learn, you want them to learn practically and to shoulder the burden and to feel, as we are talking about, to feel as a part of the team. That they
Yes.
are actually solving problems alongside you and for you and for the organization.
Yes.
So yeah, delegation is a must. We could probably talk about ensuring that you're doing it to empower the people, and it also comes off as a reward system. That, look, I'm trusting you enough to now begin to let you also handle this, and people enjoy that they see themselves as considered trustworthy to get more delegated responsibility. But we also, as leaders, you have to be careful that it is not laziness on our part.
Yeah.
We don't delegate because we're lazy and we can hang a coat and attend to other matters. Because then the people that you lead begin to realize we are the ones who are working, and our leader is not working.
That's
And he's
a
not bearing the heat of the day. So we delegate because we want others empowered. But one of the biggest challenges with delegation by leaders is insecurity. You do not want others to shine. Or you're scared they will look better than you. They will do it better than you.
Yes.
Or you have this employee who's maybe has his got bigger academic qualifications than you and works for you. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
It's perfectly normal, but you now get insecurities that you now do not want to delegate. So let your people shine. I say that if your employees are shining, you're the one who ends up shining.
Yeah, that's true.
So delegate to empower, to reward. Delegate to have a balanced life. You should be able to go and live and not worry.
Yes.
And have a balanced life. You've heard of many people who, on their deathbed, will say, I wish I spent more time with my children or with my wife.
Yes.
But they spent half their time in the office.
Yes.
And what do they pick up? Stress and the associated lifestyle diseases. So let's not go into that. But you see, delegation is there to help us distribute the load evenly and be able to find a balanced life, be able to find rest. So yeah, you should be able to go and leave, switch off your phone. I know it's probably harder for people who are running their own businesses.
Yeah.
But you can do that. I think it's probably, but it's also harder in the corporate world because people are thinking that I will appear unneeded, which is farthest from the truth. I think when you delegate and you empower people to do what you're doing,
yes,
in essence, working yourself out of a job, you're creating a vacuum that can help you go up.
Exactly.
And take on more responsibilities because you have more time. Gives you more time to be strategic in your thinking. So there are lots of benefits. But I think maybe there are levels that you can begin with in delegating. So I guess whilst you can throw people in the deep end, there are people you don't want to throw on the deep end. So maybe level one. Level one. What does level one of delegation sound like? So level one would be, for example, you have a subordinate and you give them a problem that you think you want them to solve, and you ask them to come back to you with their thoughts.
Okay.
What they think should be done.
Yes.
And then you ultimately make the decision. Right? So you've not fully delegated, but you're beginning the levels of delegation. So level two, you can take it a bit further. You can tell them, take some initiative, a bit of autonomy. What would you do? But before you do it, just come for approval. In the corporate world, people do that by copying people on emails.
Yes.
You must copy me on all your emails. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, delegated to you,
But
but I need to see.
yes.
Um, Level 3 again is just a deeper level of trust. Now you're saying, I've delegated this to you, but if you don't hear from me within a certain time period, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
so you're kind of, as a leader, you're in the know, but you have given them a bit more autonomy.
Yes.
Um, and then level 4 is where you can delegate.
Yes.
You decide, you do, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you've done, you can come and tell me. You've gone
What
through the
you
whole decision process. The feedback is retrospective.
mm-hmm.
And then I think the highest level now is at level 5, where you completely delegate. I don't want you to copy me on those emails.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to know. I trust that you can do it
Sure.
fully. And that's full delegation.
Mm.
So and these are things that then we say you can work with your employees in trying to get them to that level. But it does require for you to train. It does require for you to have an ongoing and intentional
Yes.
program of experiential training, external or internal training,
Mm.
that gets people to where they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Getting. So yeah, I think for the most part, the challenge is either skewed on one pendulum, where you have somebody who delegates everything and doesn't show up, or the other person who does not want to delegate nothing.
Yes.
But we have to have balance
Mm.
and delegate to our staff and let people carry the load equally. I think there are
Wow.
many more things to say about delegation, but I'll let you, and Zipporah, in your wisdom, continue on.
Wow, 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 wow. Dagi, you have really, as I said earlier in the podcast, if you are taking notes, please listen to this friend of mine. Mr. Nyamori has really brought it down very well. Issues to do with delegation from the least to the most and what is in between. And the way you've put it, I mean, issues to do with how step by step from step one asking for opinions. Step two, asking for being copied. Step three, do it and then report to me the disease, the consequences. That way, up to full autonomy. I think that is very powerful. And the issue now, as we said, we are talking about how to develop winning teams. You can imagine if you have a team that you're able to trust to be able to delegate, to give various levels of delegated authority, and they are able to report to you confidently, knowing that they'll get your approval, or even if they make mistakes, that at least you're working together. I believe there you are in the process of developing a winning team. Before I go to the comments, let me hear from Zipporah. What's your view about delegation?
I think I will echo what Douglas has said. Delegation is a must. And for some of us who are business people or we are perfectionists, sometimes we find delegating not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when you don't delegate, you end up doing a lot. And in the process, actually, you also end up making a lot of mistakes. You end up taking time away from things that matter by doing things that you don't necessarily have to do. So really for a leader and for you to develop your team, you must learn how to delegate. And the other thing is training. There's no way you will delegate and not train the people you are delegating to, because there's a way you expect them to perform and you give them targets and what they need to do. You must train them and show them how to do it. You must learn to hold their hands and teach them this is how we do it, and you can do it even better. And the other thing that I would say is when you have delegated and people have done the job, it's important for you to give them feedback. It's important to come back and say, thank you for doing this job. Thank you. I appreciate what you have done, and giving them feedback on the areas they need to work on. So there's a question of, yes, you are delegating, but how do you delegate? do you give clear instructions on what the team member needs to do? Or are you going to delegate, like Douglas has said, because you're being lazy and you don't want to get the job done? In my work experience, I've seen team leaders or managers where they delegate, and when you ask them, what is it that really you're doing? Because we can see actually what your team members are doing. But as a leader, we cannot put a tangible thing on exactly what you do on a daily basis. So is it an issue of you're being lazy and you're delegating, or are you delegating because you're mentoring your team and you're growing your team? So again, there's a lot to think about this area of delegation. But like Douglas has put it, it's a must. You cannot do away with delegation if you're a leader.
Wow. Thank you for that. So as a leader, if you're leading a team, if you are an entrepreneur out there running your business, you're a business executive, you've got to remember that delegation is critical. That as you've heard, as you keep delegating, mentoring your team, it's a very good way of mentoring your team members, and you're also creating a vacuum upward so that you are able now to go and do things that are more strategic in your business, or you can create a vacuum for yourself to get more responsibilities that you can be able to get on. I appreciate the comments that are coming in from Martha Thuku. Yes, Martha echoed what Douglas had said, that there are some managers who do not want to delegate because they have a bit of insecurities. And one of the things, I've just remembered something written by this gentleman called Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He says that one of the things you need to do is get team members who are brighter and better than you. Put them in your team. Let them, whether they're in finance, whether they're in tax, whether they're in marketing, whether they're in sales, where in whatever sphere, get them. Do not fear them. Bring them in your team. That's the way you'll actually shine and look, you look better. Because I'll give an example of I'm in the insurance field. There was a time I was in the insurance field, selling for one of the insurance companies, and I remember some of the star sales managers used to make sure they get the very best salespeople, train them, go out with the field with them, mentor them, and then let them shine. And then at the end of the day, you hear so-and-so agency manager, his team is doing well. And the dude is not doing much. All he does is monitor, adjust, help, coach. Yeah, money comes in. And he even gets people who are even sharper than him. Makes them go and sell, make your commissions. But since you're in my team, I'm the one who is shining. So Martha, to echo what Martha is saying, if you do not fear competition, or if you're not insecure, then you'll be able to build a very good team and build a team that is winning, basically because you're comfortable with people who are brighter and better than you are. Now, let me bring this to Zipporah. Point number 3, how do you mentor your team?
Well,
yes,
I think we have touched a bit on this, and I'm sure that will help me here because I'm sure he has done this over and over again.
Yes.
But I will go back to something number 1. I said you must develop trust to start with for you to be able to mentor someone. And you have to show patience because, like I said earlier, people will make mistakes. And you have to remember you're mentoring people who probably don't know what it is that you're expecting of them, or they've never done that job before. So you have to have a lot of patience for these people so that, again, you can be able to mentor them to become the best they can be. Like you have rightfully put it, as business people, or even as HR managers, as we are hiring, we need to hire the best talent. We need to hire people who are way brighter than us. Because if we don't do that, then we stagnate actually as a business. We don't grow because we don't want someone else to outshine us. So you need to be at that place of, I can trust someone else to do this job and do it better. So you need to develop that patience. The other thing is you need to learn to listen and understand. Don't just listen, but listen to understand your team members. Listen to understand what your mentee or your team member is going through so that you can be able to guide them in the right direction. And the other thing is you need to use personal lessons and examples to actually help your team members. Sometimes they might be struggling with something that you have actually struggled with before. And I've realized this is very powerful when you can relate and you can share examples of this is what with, And I was actually able to overcome by doing 1, 2, 3 things. So sometimes when you share personal challenges, personal examples, it helps that team member. So there's a lot of things you can do as a team member to actually mentor your team members. But again, I will allow Dagi to input because I'm sure he has a lot of experience on this as well.
Yes, Dagi, you could probably tell us. I'm sure you've mentored quite a number of individuals in your workplace. Just from a practical perspective, how do you mentor your team? Because you've got a number of people in various capabilities. They're all looking up to you every morning. Some of them are pretty young, others are a bit older in their work experience. But at the end of the day, you being the business executive, they are looking at you to show them, okay, how do we go? So what's your view about mentoring your team?
All right. Yeah, you wonder whether you are a good mentor or not. That's a challenging question, and whether you're mentoring right. So,
Yes,
I think you mentor intentionally, visibly, and sometimes you mentor invisibly and silently.
sure.
But in all of those, I think it's important that you just be an example.
Aha.
People, they say people, want to follow and see what you do and how you do
Hmm.
things, and they pick from there.
Yes,
So the job of mentoring becomes even more difficult for the for the leader,
yes.
because your primary role is also to be an example. So that's the first thing I think I would say with regards to mentoring.
Hmm.
You are showing someone what to do because you
Yes.
are doing it, not
Aha.
just saying, go and do that,
Yes.
but
Yes.
doing it alongside them. So
Hmm.
being an example. Uh,
Hmm.
but practically, I think you have to have a good development plan
Hmm. Yeah, that's true.
that's written out.
Yes.
I think many organizations have development plans that we talk about when we're doing appraisals.
Yes.
Yeah, personal development plans and other development plans, and it's a key part of an appraisal. But sometimes we may forget to focus on it because many people think appraisals are time to say how well you have done and get a big salary increase.
Increment. Yes. Yes, that's true.
No, but an appraisal, I think, is much more than that. It's I think the most important part of an appraisal is to have a development plan
Yes.
that you can go back to and say, okay, we said we would do this to develop ourselves, and you as an employer said you would do this to help me develop,
Hmm.
etc. So a development plan that is jointly agreed
Aha.
between you and the mentee. So I will read these books, I will go do this course, I will spend time every week doing this. I will latch on to one of my colleagues and
Hmm.
go with them to site visits or to sales
Yes.
visits uh,
Hmm.
twice a week. I mean, that's practical things
Yes.
that must be included in a development plan. So
Hmm.
if it's directly you that's doing that, then you have to involve someone directly under your arm that you can
Hmm.
do those things with.
Hmm.
So most of the development that's available to us, most people would think that it means you have to get a lot of money to go and do a master's, which is important,
Aha.
but it's also available. Self-development is there available at cost-effective in cost-effective ways. Uh,
Yes.
Experiential opportunities. So I think that's the first thing. Just having a good development plan.
Hmm.
But I think the other thing that we need to realize is that you can't mentor everybody.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's true.
So don't spread yourself thin and have 20 people in your organization that you're mentoring.
Yes.
And unless you're Superman, you will end up selling yourself short or doing a shoddy job on those 20
Yes.
people, or you will not find time to do anything else. You will be
Exactly.
spending your time only mentoring.
Hmm.
So I think it's also important to, within the organization, create other mentors and
Yes.
structures of mentoring right through the organization. So as
Hmm.
a leader, you are mentoring, not
Yes.
directly, but
Yes.
sometimes indirectly. So you can do that by involving other team members. When other team members get involved in mentoring, they know they have something to contribute in helping their fellow staff members.
Yes.
And so it becomes a culture that's good for an organization.
Yes.
So in our organization, we call it talent mapping and talent planning. So you're able to, write down, these are all the people I have, and these are the skills they have. This is the potential they have.
Yes.
And this is where they can get to if they do A, B, C, D. So this is who I'll assign them, and this is how at the end of the 6 months, or if it's a biannual appraisal, or at the end of the year, this is how we would review it. So you have to have practical things that you do there, then put in place in terms of talent planning and talent mapping. But as a leader, never ever forget that you're mentoring by example.
Oh, yes.
So if you show up at 10 a.m. and go for lunch until 3 p.m., after you've delegated all your tasks, then you're mentoring.
Oh, yeah, you're mentoring in your own way.
Mentoring in your own way, and everyone is waiting to get to that point where they will, they'll abscond duty, where they will cheat on, on their returns. When you go to your finance person and say, look, this is how we are going to do it. So you're mentoring.
Yeah.
So I think it's just to be an example. During these COVID times, this is my personal challenge.
Yes.
I want to work from home. I don't want to get stuck in the jam half the time, and I want the joy of having my lunch served by my wife as I work.
Lord. Oh Lord.
I realize because our office has to stay open, I also have to lead by example. And be able to go to the office just as we expect others to go on rotational basis. I'm just using that as an example.
Yes. Sure.
And then people begin to see that you're also trying to lead by example. So mentoring is that way, so that the next person who takes over leadership from me, hopefully will have picked up some of the good things that they would have seen and would mentor others as well. Yes. That is basically it, Mr. Anthony.
Wow. Those are powerful points about mentoring, issues to do with, first of all, by your very existence, when you walk in the office, when you leave, you are mentoring. When you're walking out, you're mentoring. And now you do it deliberately by creating a team, creating a development plan. I believe now those who in HR, those are some of the things that you need to appreciate, that as you do your appraisal plans for your staff, as Douglas has put it, you've got to have something that deliberately shows that mentoring is taking place. In people working in different departments, different different sections of the business. So to develop a winning team, you've got to mentor your staff, do it deliberately. Obviously, you can't mentor everyone. Then you can have people that are also mentoring others as you mentor them. Yeah. And that way you are able to send to diffuse a culture, a winning team culture down the organization. And keep the comments coming. I can see Douglas has a cheerleader. Shirley is saying, this is a rich discussion. She's so blessed to hear Mr. Nyamori speak. Beth Mugambi, I can see you are learning a lot. That's good. And that's what we desire to do, to be a blessing to others, that they will be able to understand and know what it means to be in a winning team. And which now brings me to my last question for today. From an employee, now we have discussed from a team perspective, you're the boss, you're the one who disseminates issues to do with character, you're the one, you're delegating, you're the one who is mentoring. Now, on the receiving end, there is the employee who wants to be part of a winning team. Now, briefly, because our time is almost up, I'll start with you, Zipporah. What, as an employee, what would you be in order to be a great team member?
I think I would start from the place of, as an employee, if you've been given a job by this organization, you need to show some sort of commitment. You need to be committed to your cause. And I think if you're committed, it's going to be a very good starting point on how you can become part of a winning team. The other thing I would say, as an employee, you need to be flexible. Sometimes we have found ourselves in situations where, as an employee, I don't want to be flexible. I'm stuck in my ways. And the truth is, when you're not flexible, you're not able to blend in with other team members. So you need to be reasonable, you need to be flexible. The other thing is you need to actively listen to other team members. Don't be the kind of a person who doesn't listen or you do what you want to do. Be the kind of a person who will listen to other team members and understand how they're operating or why they're doing things sometimes the way they are doing. Always be ready to help. Again, comes from a place of being flexible. If you're not the kind of a team member who is willing to help, when you need that help, no one is going to be willing to help you. And this affects the team. So you need to be flexible. You need to be willing to help others as well. Support and respect others. One of the key elements of a good team is when team members support and respect each other. When you find there's disrespect, there's no support, then that team you find it will struggle in one way or the other. So as a team member, you need to strive to be supportive and to be respectful. The other thing I would say is have a good attitude. We always say we hire for attitude and good character, and we train for skills. So again, if you don't have a good attitude, the truth is it's going to affect the other team members. It's going to weigh down on them. You're going to bring negative energy in the work environment. So have a great attitude. Leave any bad attitude you might have at the gate. When you get to the office, wear that hat where you want to play the card of a being team member, work together with the other team members. And the truth is, you will not even need to wear that cap of having a bad attitude when you're going back home, because already you have made a choice. You want to have a good attitude when you're working with other people. So there's a lot of things as an employee you can do to be a good team player, to be a good team member, by just doing the basic things that bring us humanity together.
All right. Thanks, Zipporah. You've really brought it down. Basic things, issues to do with professionalism. Yes, just being professional. You wake up, you go to work. Your mind is set to work. You have a good attitude. You're respectful to your colleagues, and you're willing to put in the shift. Dagi, your closing comments. What is your view on how would you consider a good employee being part of a good team? I mean, of a great team.
Yeah. Thanks, Zippy. I think Zippy has captured quite a bit of it and done it very well. And a lot of it is really to do with attitude and values. I'll just add one or two things. I think one of the key things is also for you to understand your role within the team and understand the role of others. So understand. I keep telling my wife that it's important that if you are Messi, you don't try and be a goalkeeper. So
that's true.
But you don't want to be trying to do something that is for someone else to do.
Yeah.
Recognize the gifts of others, and it helps enhance the team ethos. That we are bringing something to the table that's different, but all very important.
Yeah, that's true.
Regardless of rank and file. Just be very helpful and be ready to receive help. In a team where you're not ready to receive help, you just want to help.
That's a powerful point. Yes.
Yeah. So you have to be humble and ready to receive help. I think one of the things that you should just handle your ambitions. This is a challenging area. A team can be broken and there can be divisiveness if there's selfish ambition. Ambition is not bad. Ambition becomes bad when it's selfish. So be ambitious, but not in a selfish way.
Yes.
Bring others up with you. You don't have to step on people to get up.
Yes.
So, no selfish ambition. And then avoiding cliques in the office. Cliques are the worst thing that can happen within a team. As for no more, I talk to so and so and so. We go with it for lunch with only so and so. So those practical things you just avoid, and I think a leader's role could also help in trying to avoid those kind of situations. But an employee should be one of those that says, look, I will not be the divisive one. I will not be but also to be one that defends the team. Zippy talked about commitment to the team. So I will defend the team externally, and when there are issues, I will raise them openly within the team.
Yes.
I will not raise them in a corner with somebody or raise them in, outside there.
Yes.
But I will raise them openly with the team. I will speak ill of my team members, both internally and externally. I'll not play the blame game. So these are some of the qualities that you need to have as an employee to be a great team member. And it's very easy to spot someone who's a great team member within your team.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Thanks.
Those are powerful points, Bwana. Issues to do with from both an employee perspective. I mean, from both an employee and employer's perspective, from a junior staff member to the things you've discussed. You could find. I mean, those are the same things you'd want to see in an executive. A CEO, a senior executive, because they're still an employee of the company. Even an entrepreneur running his own business is still an employee of his business, and therefore he needs to be also a good team member, even as he's mentoring and leading others. Today, I'm sure our listeners will agree with me. We've had a wonderful time, and as I was saying before we began the podcast, this is something. How to build a winning team is something we can discuss even next week. We can have more. We can have another podcast discussing about building winning teams, because in any enterprise, in any vocation, as long as you're having people working together for a common goal, what you need is a winning team. And a winning team, if we were to define it, is to say a team that is able to achieve its goals, even probably overachieve its goals while having fun doing it. As Dagi, as we said earlier in the beginning of the podcast, nobody wants to go to work for a bad boss in a job that they don't like, and in a bad and in a toxic environment. From my own personal experience, I've worked in organizations that are both big and small, and I can tell you, in various places where I've worked, I've desired to go working for that boss or that company because they had created a winning culture where the environment is good, where the managers and my superiors were actively engaged in creating a winning culture. And I've also worked in places where, let's just say, I was the grass and there were people who were elephants. And me and my colleagues who are grass did not enjoy the experience at all, because the elephants were determined to show that they are the elephants and that we will not grow to be, will not metamorphosize from being grass to becoming elephants. Yes. So as we close, I can see one or two comments that have been sent. Georgina had a question. I'm not sure whether Georgina will be able to handle this, but probably offline we can be able to do this. You wanted to know whether an employer or a leader who tends to be difficult, as an employer or leader, it tends to be difficult to know the right candidate for the job. Yes. Most people capture, issues of interview questions and answers. This is something that we can discuss probably, in future, because these are very pertinent questions. I'm sure, Dagi, you've gone through this where you've
question.
You don't know who is the right person, who is the wrong person. Georgina, our time is really gone, but we will look.
Anthony, actually, if you can allow me to say quickly on that comment from Georgina.
Yes.
This is very true that candidates or future employees have actually mastered the art of answering questions in interviews. Personally, what I like doing, besides asking you the questions, I don't like structured questions in interviews, because before, if you look back a while back, you realize people never used to know how to behave in an interview. So with the internet coming, people have learned, people get all sorts of skills to present themselves. Now, when it comes to the actual interview, I think as an interviewer, it's important for you to engage the candidates in a conversation, because you are trying to get to know this person, you're trying to get to understand this person. So we need to also deviate a little bit from the structured way of asking questions to having a situation where we are having a conversation. And trust me, in a conversation, you are able to pick a lot of things that will help you understand, is this the right person I want to engage or not? So engaging more of a conversation is having to do structured questions. So that's a brief, but yeah, we can discuss this more in another forum.
Yes. Thanks, Georgina, for the question. Indeed, it's a pertinent question. Mr. Dagi here being in a situation where he's hard to hire. Naomi Wambua, thanks for the compliments. This is a pertinent question which we'll need to discuss more in the future. Douglas Nyamori, thanks a lot for coming to our podcast show today. Thank you for the wisdom that you have given us in the areas that we're discussing about building a winning team. And it's unfortunate. If you could have put your company's name there and people to come and flock in there, I'm sure we would have many people coming in. But thanks for coming in. We hope to have you soon in other discussions that we will have. Thanks, Zippy, for also giving us your perspective from a HR angle. Thanks to our listeners. Thanks for logging in. Thanks to listening to us. Thanks for the comments that you've shared. If you want to know more about Aurum Consultants, our addresses are at the bottom of your screen. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, via LinkedIn, via telephone. You can go to our website, www.aurumconsultants.co.ke. Thank you very much for logging in. Hope to catch you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.